now. Welcome everyone to one of the first events from the Institute for Greater Europe in 2022, and this is all about the European Year of Youth. As a youth-led NGO ourselves, think tank based in Brussels, we're of course very excited to see this European Year of Youth, as I think many of us in this call were when the Commission President announced it last year. With us today, we have some wonderful people here to present the European Year of Youth, and starting with, of course, Biliana Sirakova, who is the EU Youth Coordinator, appointed since 2021, who is there to strengthen cooperation, not just for the EYY, but across all services of the European Union, the European Commission. She has been working at the European Commission since 2010, with a background in economics and management beforehand. She has 18 years of experience, both across the public, private, and non-profit sectors, and we're very happy to have her joining us today. We also have many of our colleagues from DG EAC, apologies, Liana, Cornelia, and Kitty also joining us, who'll be here on hand as well to explain a little bit more about it. Thank you very much for joining us, everyone.
Thank you, Philip. It was a nice introduction. Good to meet you all. Do you would like to start with anything else, Philip, or we go right ahead?
I will now share the video about the European Year of Youth that was requested to share. So if you give me one moment, I shall do it now. So, are you seeing the screen?
Mm-hmm.
You're seeing the Instagram? Fantastic. I will sound and I will start now. Please let me know if the sound is working.
During the Year of Youth, you can explore,
learn new things,
get creative,
grow,
be active,
101,
volunteer abroad, inspire others.
But what's important is to be yourself,
To have an open mind,
to be ready to engage,
and to learn new things. Be actors of positive change.
to lead a healthy lifestyle,
contribute to a better future,
and make our voices heard. Your turn!
And there we are. So we've already got a wonderful introduction from Instagram and the amazing EAC team on what the European Year of Youth is. And now, without further ado, hand over to Biliana to tell us a bit more about what is the European Year of Youth.
Great, with pleasure. Thank you very much. We did want to start with a short video because it was prepared by some of our interns, actually Blue Book trainees in the European Commission. And we thought it's also nice that you hear from them what they think the year is about, because at the end, it is really about young people and how they should get engaged, how they can voice their concerns. So we thought it's just it's a nice way to start. But what we have prepared is a short presentation. So talking about the objectives of the European Year of Youth, why it was proposed and why it's taking place. I will talk about how we co-created the year together with youth organizations and the member states with their national coordinators, and indeed within all of the EU institutions, the Commission, Parliament, Council, and the committees. And then Kitty will talk to you as our communication expert about our new European Year of Youth page and communication materials, initiatives, what is coming up. And Cornelia will share as part of our co-creation efforts some results on the survey that we had with young people when we asked them what do they want from the year. And then we'll have plenty of time to cover some of your questions. And really also, we are very happy to hear your reaction. Even if, the year has been launched, it's starting. We are, of course, still looking for ideas, for new activities, for proposals. So we are also happy to take to hear your concerns and your ideas. So what did we decide? Will I be sharing the screen or someone else had it ready?
If you can share the screen, that would be good. Okay, I have it ready as well.
Let's go ahead. So I will do that, and let me know if you can see it well without any kind of gray areas, etc. Looks okay?
Yep, looks okay. Small gray area at the top, super. But nothing. Perfect.
So a few of the objectives, and these are coming straight out of the decision on the European Year of Youth. So it's important to highlight that we have a legal decision taken by the European Parliament and the Council of the European Union that there will be a European Year of Youth. And we can maybe, when we share this presentation, we can send you a link to that so you can read it. It's not a very long document. So we do have 4 concrete objectives for this European Year of Youth. And maybe just to back on a bit what the year was about and why it's proposed. You mentioned it, Felipe, it was proposed by the president of the Commission, von der Leyen. And the general idea is that we want to put the spotlight on young people, on some of the issues they're facing, especially in this kind of post-pandemic perspective, but also on the opportunities, on the ideas of young people, on the opportunities that are available, and some the EU is making, but some that the member states are giving to young people, so that we raise awareness of all that exists. And 4 concrete objectives again. So first one is to really draw inspiration from young people, from their insights, ideas, vision. We know they have a lot to offer in terms of solutions to some of our biggest challenges. So we want to renew this perspective and to also hear from young people. The second one is that we want this year to especially support all young people, but especially those with fewer opportunities, and also to engage young people so that they become active citizens and actors of change. And you know that we are in contact through our programs with many young people, but this year we think there is especially an opportunity to get involved those with whom we traditionally do not talk or are not in connection with. The third objective is to promote, as I said, opportunities that exist for young people, be it opportunities that the European Union is giving young people, or countries, regions, at local level, etc. And then the fourth one is about making sure that young people's perspectives are included in all policy areas, and also that we can get young people involved in the decision and policy making process. So this is what the year is about. As you can see, it is quite broad, and we have a really big variety of measures that will be taking place, ranging from, of course, events, conferences, workshops, and debates, to studies and research on young people, and data, and a lot more kind of project-based work. So the scope into the different measures that will be taking place are quite varied. So here are just a few examples of what I was mentioning, and it's not probably even an exhaustive list. As you can see, there are really a lot of different activities organized in a different level. But let me just speak about the co-creation of the year, because we had a relatively short time, as you know, about 3 months to really get the opinions from different sides and to understand what this year should be about, where to put the focus. So we had political steering from the EU institutions, and then internally in the Commission, we connected with all relevant Directors General, Commission services, in order to also hear their views. We did a mapping of all the different events and initiatives that can contribute to the objectives that I just previously talked about. Altogether, we've identified now more than 200 different not only events that will be taking place, but more also policy initiatives and big programs. We also took into account ideas from young people, as it says from the survey, and also through kind of social media posts, and Cornelia will talk about that. And then we have a group which we continue to work with, which is a group of youth stakeholders, so youth organizations, NGOs, platforms, networks, who are operating at European level, and then national coordinators. So I'll just mention briefly what their role is, because they are very key for the success of the year and for making sure that the year really reaches all corners of Europe and reaches as many young people as possible. So European youth stakeholders. So at EU level, we thought that we should work directly with youth organizations that are operating at least across a few European countries. And then at national level, the national youth organizations like the National Youth Council and others can work more closely with the national coordinator for the year. So at EU level, we identified quite a big number of European youth stakeholders, and actually we are still open to welcoming others into this group if they're interested. Here just a few examples which I took. There are more to share, but there was that much space on the slides, and just examples that show you one thing. First, that we really want to support this cross-sector approach. So some of the organizations, as you can see, operate in quite many different fields, really ranging from employment and energy to their culture and sport and etc. Most of them are youth-led. You can see here in this little poll that we did during the first meeting when we met them in November, 68% are all youth-led. 17% have not worked with the Commission before, which was great news for us, because again, we wanted to engage with organizations and through them with young people who we have not traditionally talked to. And then some of them are quite big in the sense that they have a big outreach to young people. 38% said that every year more than 5,000 young people take part in their events. And I imagine the outreach through their social media and different communication channels it's even higher. So these youth organizations, we will keep meeting them throughout the year. They are our partners. We would like to support their work, and they will have an active role by, for instance, organizing events linked to the European Year of Youth, but also we want that they exchange among themselves and possibly even form new partnerships. So I think that's an opportunity, even as a kind of long-term aspect beyond the European of Youth, that we are creating this space and these connections between these youth organizations, but also with them and the EU institutions and the member states. Then talking about member states, so as I said, at the national level, the year will be implemented by national coordinators, and we have 29 national coordinators, so one for each member state, and then in the case of Belgium, there are 3 national coordinators. And you can see that the big majority come from the member states administration, so a Ministry of Youth or Ministry of Education or similar. And then in 5 countries, the national coordinator is actually from the national agencies, which are implementing Erasmus Plus program and European Solidarity Corps. And then in 2 countries, in Hungary and Netherlands, they have decided to give this role to the National Youth Council. So that's quite interesting to see, because we indeed think that it's very important that these national coordinators work hand in hand in this year with the national youth councils, because very often the national youth councils, as their members, have connection with many different national youth organizations and local and regional. So let me stop maybe here, and I turn it to Kitty to talk about communication, and then I think at the end it will be easier. We cover all of the different questions.
Thank you very much, Biliana. As you can imagine, it is of top importance now to spread the word and tell kind of Europe that the Year of Youth has started. We have created a logo, which I find very nice, because it shows our idea of being in communication, in talks, in exchange with young people. It is this speech bubble and the European stars, because this is our identity. You can use this logo as you wish. You could see Biliana has it already in her background in turquoise and in yellow, and Cornelia, she will talk later, she used the logo in pink and yellow. So this is up to you to decide which color you prefer. These are the approved colors, and we have translated this European Year of Youth, this text, into the European languages, and they can be downloaded from the European Youth Portal from a dedicated section. And Cornelia or Biliana, they will put in the chat the link from where to download it. We will get a bit more for those who wish to organize guidance documents in the future. Did our colleagues in DG.com, they're still working on it, but it should come later this week. Also sort of how to place, where to place, how to create a good page and so on. I guess this will definitely help you. What I would like to do now is I would like to share my screen. So can you take, yes, excellent, thanks a lot. Yeah. So what I would like to show you now is, coming up, the European Youth Portal as such. Do you all know sort of what the Youth Portal is as such? It is one of the main entry points for European youth policies, but also for initiatives, great initiatives, such as the European Solidarity Corps. We always run the European Youth Week, which is organized every second year over there, Youth Dialogue. Now this year, or last year in 2021, extremely strong Discover You, where we distributed 60,000 Interrail tickets to young people. So lots of entry points here. So we thought, because this is already a portal, it is perfectly known among young people, we also add a new section on the European Year of Youth, here highlighted in yellow. What you end up is a dedicated section, which is slightly different than the youth portal, but where we will update basically every day and provide content that is relevant for young people and for our organizations, for institutions when it comes to the European Year of Youth. This page is a growing animal we have started. It will be enriched over time. Every week we have a new release. So new sections are coming up, new content, and I will quickly show you what we have at this stage. For the time being, our commissioners are opening and introducing the Year of Youth. You have Maria Gabriel, our commissioner for Innovation, Research, Culture and Education. So she's very much in charge of our file and the Year of Youth. And Commissioner Skinas, he is the vice president promoting the European way of life. We will change here the video clips that are available for young people, so there's a bit more fun and entertainment. Now we come to a very important part, which will also be upgraded this week, later on. It is the activities. And we would like to invite basically everyone who is organizing an activity that is linked in the broadest sense to the European Year of Youth to submit an activity. What is an activity? Everything that Biliana showed you beforehand. It can be a festival, a sports event, an expo, a debate, a conference, a youth talk, whatever comes to your mind, even a campaign that is longer lasting, and so on. It is a very easy way to do. You click on the button submit an activity, and you'll be then, we cannot use my entry because you get a different view, but the only thing is you can proceed here. Let's see if we come to the right part. Voila. Yes, we do. Good. And you simply add here new activity. You get here a very simple and clear activity sheet where you click what you have to click. For example, the age range, you can have an age range which goes from 13 to 24 or even older. You choose the language of the activity and so on and so forth. When you're done with all this clicking, we gave it a bit more clicking opportunities so that we also get nice and good statistics out of this. Then you simply say save, and it goes, which I'm not going to show you right now. It goes to, oops, I lost my screen. I will go again. Then you will come basically to, it will be stored in the back office, and we have developed a system where all the activities are then validated at national level by dedicated persons. And once they have validated, sorry, I'm just opening again. The activity will appear on the portal. Activity will appear in the language that has been selected, and it will appear in the country where either when it is a physical event, the activity takes place, or in case of a hybrid or on the pure online event, I reconnect now. if this is possible. No, it doesn't show me again. Sorry, I have to try again. Oopsie. Yeah. Then it will be shown in where the organizer basically sits. So this is the one activity where we really would like to work together with you, where all your input is needed or very much welcome. So we should be back on the portal. Sorry for this. We have a new sections where we always update basically also daily what is going on in the European Year of Youth. If you have a particular, a specific event that you believe is worthwhile, a new section, write to us. We send you a link where you could submit it. We will then redraft or make a bit suggestions if there is some redrafting needed, and you go live and you have your audience over here. You see, it is going into all different directions. It is quite rich and important. And then we have a section which will grow in near future quite a lot, drastically. It's the voices of young Europeans, where we want to really listen, read, and explore. We have a pool of young journalists. They are publishing, they are drafting their opinion on topics that they select and they choose. You can then read what they have to say. It is quite diverse. It's quite slow today, the laptop. And it comes, this one is from Stefanos from Nicosia. So he submitted this one as a part of this activity. And then we have a section where we also want to listen to young people. I fight against this computer today. Let me take it. Where they can submit their ideas how Europe would look like in the future. Here it is this one, Views and Hopes. And within a few days from now, you will find a link. And if you have young people, or if you are young yourself, please submit your ideas, how your ideas for a tomorrow could look like. You can see that we have here very different ideas, very different people. Celia, for example, she believes in this activity. And I think she's 15 years old, from Greece. And she sent us a short text on how she feels about a topic that is quite important and close to her heart. Here in this section where we want to listen, in near future, we will most probably launch great participatory tools. We're not going to reveal them now. They're going to be a surprise for everyone. I believe they are really good. They are cool. It has to do with 3D recording, voices, and so on. And you will see. And in a few, next week, probably we will get a new section down here where we will talk about policy initiatives from the European Commission at European level, where people can search and read everything that is important for them and which they, for example, give you an example in a simple one, a tobacco regulation. Why is it important? It shows how kind of the use of tobacco is taken care of. So far, much more to come up here. What I really would like to invite you is to contribute to the activities. It is not a difficult system, and we would like really to make the Europeans aware that a lot is going on. You see, we are over 50. This is not the reality. Much more will come. And I stop here and pass on the microphone to Cornelia to talk you through the survey we did earlier or last year, at the end of last year. Thank you.
Yes, I will quickly share my scene. I think, Kitty, there is one more slide.
We had just one more. I mean, some of the examples Kitty just mentioned that we put some examples of what you will see.
Voila. Yeah, some activities that we are knowing, but you will see on the portal, you will find all the info about them.
I think this slide pictures well how, again, they're really coming in all many different policy areas, ranging from, of course, like learning and education to employment to, mobility to sport and health, and even like youth in external action. So you can see that it's really quite a broad range here. And these are just a few of the examples that we put in. And for some of the policy initiatives, you can see the kind of Directorate General in the Commission, which is in the lead. And indeed, in some cases, like the Your Europe, Your Say event, this is by the European Economic and Social Committee. Okay, I think we can go to the next one, Cornelia, so you can tell us about the survey.
All right, yes. So I hope I can change my slides. Yes, there you go. So we conducted this survey more like a call for ideas on the European Year of Youth in November, basically November at the end of last year, where we published a survey on the European Youth Portal asking everyone, all young people and even people who are older or younger than our goal target group, to share their ideas and opinion about the European Year of Youth. So we received roughly 4,600 responses from all over Europe and beyond as well. As you can see, generally here, some of the demographic results of the respondents were, they were mostly from cities and towns. And of course, our generic target group, or more like the most popular target group, the 18-24 age range. But also, I think it's really interesting to see that many of them who filled out the survey have not participated in a European Youth Initiative or program before. So that's really interesting to really have them engage with this program or with this year. And then, of course, we were interested in where they would want to follow our activities. It was, of course, social media and the European Youth Portal. So that was something we kind of expected, but it was a good confirmation that we really have to focus on these parts of our outreach projects. About the themes we asked several, there were several opportunities for them to fill out what are the themes we would really need to focus on and address during the year. Majority said education and training, climate change and environment, of course. With the pandemic, of course, health and mental health is a really big project, is one of the core ideas which, based on the European Year of Youth, is organized, is that the fact that the mental health of young people is really important. We need to support them after the pandemic. Inclusiveness, unemployment, all of these are core principles or core themes of the year, and we try to have as many initiatives and activities focusing on these throughout the year. And then some of the other responses we received is there are a lot of kind of activities we were interested in, and of course mainly festivals and workshops for events we are organizing. I think this is also really nice. How would you like to interact? Who would you like to interact with during the European Year of Youth? And most respondents said young people from other European countries, which is, I think, really nice, that people really want to have a discussion with each other. And then, of course, members of the European Parliament and representatives from youth organizations. That's also really important. But that 73% is, I think, quite striking in this regard. So basically a lot of people said, and there were some what they think the European Year of Youth is about making their voices heard and participating in international opportunities to really meet new people and kind of be part of a decision-making process. And this question, if you want to make your voice heard or to express your opinion, do you know how to do so? And many people said they're not too sure or they're not. So I think that's something we really need to give kind of the tools for young people to participate in this democratic society, because there is a willingness, but sometimes they feel like they don't have the right ways to do so. But of course, most people were interested in debates and interactive dialogues, voting in elections, and communicating on a topic on social media. So these were the more striking parts of the results. And I think it was really nice to see. I will link the report in the comments as well, so you can, on the chat function, so you can see what the full results were with our analysis with our colleagues. And of course, there will be more surveys on the year and on the topics of the year as the year is going on. So there was kind of like an initial idea gathering, and then we will continue to monitor this process throughout the year.
Great. Thank you very much, Cornelia. And now we go to the final slide just about what you can do. So here are some ideas. I have to say it's not an exhaustive list. Indeed, for instance, Cornelia mentioned that if you didn't get a chance, for instance, to fill this survey that we launched, you'll get other opportunities. I mean, next month we are launching a very big Eurobarometer survey for young people study. And so that will be again on the portal on the European Year of Youth page. So you can get involved in that. But very practically, especially if you would like to, for instance, find out about some activities at local, regional, or national level, or just you would like also to get engaged, because in many countries, and we know that from the national coordinators themselves, they are currently in this co-creation process. So if you would like to share ideas about projects or initiatives at the national level, you can contact the appointed national coordinator for the country where you want this to take place. And very soon, maybe Kitty, after I finish here, you can say the list of national coordinators will be also on the page. So you can go to the country which is of interest and see who's the responsible person. Then, as Kitty said, I mean, the activity map was getting really populated quite fast. So this is, you saw that there were some, but it will get quite more full with all these red dots. So you can yourself join events and activities in the area of your interest. And of course, organize activities yourself, upload them on the activity map. You will get, again, in the coming probably weeks, kind of some support in terms of the communication material. Kitty mentioned the logo, how to place it. Then she also referred to this new section that will appear, these policy initiatives, so you can learn more about what the EU is doing for young people and see then how you can get engaged, maybe possibly even beyond the year, because in the policy initiatives, we're not talking about only kind of time-specific events, but really some of them are projects and programs over the years. We invite you to use the logo, to use the hashtag. The official one for the moment that we have is European Year of Youth. And to follow us on social media, because you saw from the survey how many young people were interested in getting informed and kind of following things on the social media. So there is really a lot that we are doing, and probably even more to come. So on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, we have our European Youth EU formal account. And then, for instance, next Tuesday at 4 o'clock on Instagrams, I believe it is, if I'm not mistaken, but you can check it on the European Year of Youth page. We'll do an Instagram live, and it's just the first one in a big series of lives. And again, other cool things to come up. So please follow these if you want to kind of stay informed on new features and what we are launching. So I think this is what we have prepared in terms of comment, but now it's more to the fun part. It's time for your questions and for a discussion, really. So I think we can take this down so we can also see some people's faces, which is a bit nicer. Thank you very much for your attention, and we are happy to hear your thoughts and definitely questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Biliana. Thank you very much, Cornelia. Thank you very much, Kitty. It was really lovely to hear all about the European Year of Youth from the people running it itself. And what I'd like to do now is just take a few questions that was pre-submitted to us. So some of them by the people here. And then if you would like to take the floor, do feel free, participants, to either put your question in the chat or also raise your hand and we can yield to you. So actually, the first question I want to ask was yours, Rumiana. So I don't know if you want to ask it, but at least I can make reference to you here. Thanks for joining us. Which was, what are some of the biggest challenges that the European Year of Youth is facing? It's going to run, of course, for the whole year. Lots of difficulties into it. What would you think are some of the biggest challenges? And of course, yielding into that, what are you going to try and do to solve them? So maybe we'll just take that one first, and then for the other ones, we might take
Sure. I think there's enough of challenges to go around, so maybe I can start, and then Kitty, you can for sure join in, and I'm sure Cornelia, because I guess from different angles. Well, I think the first one, which I'll start, and I kind of referred to it when we talked about the co-creation aspect and the whole preparation for the year, is the little time that we have. I mean, we kind of started working on a lot of these things in terms of concretely the year plans, basically on 15th of September. When this proposal was announced, and so we've had very short time. So some of these things, probably for instance the co-creation, it might have been done, better if it was longer. We might have gotten not 5,000 people in a short survey, but 50,000 if it had stayed longer. So yes, I think that's quite a big challenge. Although I do have to say that in terms of course, the youth voices, we are not new into this, because for instance, these themes that young people want to see, that they're interested in, education and mental health is important for them. All of these things, it's not like news to us, because of course we have the data. There's a lot of research on this, and a lot of it has been done by the European Commission. So it's not like it's not a surprise to us. So we know what are the burning issues there. So I would say still it's time can be challenging. And the second thing, well, I'll mention, and I give it to Kitty, is this aspect of reaching many young people who are traditionally not involved in our processes, in the youth dialogue, in our programs, because of course there are young people out there who have no idea about what the EU is doing, have not even, or just hear sporadically things from the news, and they are not at all aware. And it's difficult. This outreach is very difficult. There we need kind of local presence. That's why initiatives, even for us as working in the Commission, back to school initiatives, where we have Commission officials, as you know, go to their former or school in their country and talk about what the EU is doing, are so important. We have to be really close to the people. We cannot do it just kind of from Brussels. So this outreach and reaching people who are not that engaged, or in general with the EU kind of project and in the programs, is very important, because I think especially for those young people, this year can mean something very different. I mean, it can almost set them on a different life path. If you have never heard about opportunities through some of like study abroad or other kind of programs, there's so many. And because of this year, you hear about something, you find it out, you apply, you get it, and then you can see how it can almost take you on a different course. So I think this is why it's important that we have a big outreach in terms of communication. So Kitty.
Yeah, let me give you an example of how outreach then works and how people are kind of getting into it. This I mentioned briefly that we launched last year this mega round for Discover You, 60,000 travel passes. And at the end, we had 330,000 applications for these travel passes. All young people who were all of a sudden interested in an European activity and initiative. This is the one thing that I fully subscribe with what Biliana said. We need to reach to those young people and show them the opportunities. On the other hand, and I believe that a challenge is that youth and youth policy goes not only into our field where we are in the Commission, but across all the different areas and all the different commissions. As I said, you have from tobacco to safer internet to, I don't know, defense of young people's rights. And it's so broad. We have collected initiatives in very speedy way, and we came to more than 120 or almost 150 policy initiatives that deal in the broadest sense with the youth agenda. So there is more in for young people than you would believe. And another challenge is we tell young people, tell us what you think, give us your opinion, make your voice heard. How is the follow-up organized? We don't want to just sort of say, yeah, another survey, and then whoop, nothing happens. We really want that there is a constructive follow-up. The problem is that when it comes to policy making, follow-ups are not always immediate. This takes quite often time, discussion. Not every opinion is always correct. just because I say blue, it need not be blue, it can be yellow. So policy making is a lot of discussion, a lot of consensus, a lot of driving step by step forward. But from now on, but it was always also in the last, but we want to really make sure that these young people also see how this process goes on and how their voices are nicely and gradually more and more taken up. So there's a lot going on in this respective. And I see a yellow hand there up there is getting that. Is it linked to it, or should Cornelia, as a young person in the commission, also add a few words first? Isabel, you're muted.
No, of course, like whenever there is room for it, like Cornelia, please.
Yeah.
I'm in an interesting position as a trainee. I'm working on this, but I think one of the biggest kind of obstacles is kind of trying to balance between the fact that most people think, okay, this shouldn't just be a communication campaign, whereas it also should be a communication campaign. I mean, that's also an important aspect, but also, you know, we all know I don't know, but many people know that the European or any kind of bureaucracy or public administration is a really big ship which turns really slowly. So just in 3 months, you cannot kind of come up with something huge, find the people to do it and do it right away, in the sense that there are a lot of existing initiatives of the focusing on youth, which are, I think, amazing. And even if we just only manage to make sure that there's more light, there's more focus on these initiatives, and that's more coordinated to really focus on youth and the issues young people are facing in Europe. I think that's also a really good big achievement. With the current, whichever wave of coronavirus we are facing right now, of course, one of the biggest goals was to have this Year of Youth as a big meetup for young people, finally, after so many years. We'll see how it goes over the summer or in the autumn as we go. But yeah, I think it's kind of just trying to balance focusing on policy, but also reaching many people. It's kind of a big effort from everyone, which I don't think has been done before. Really, it's not an EAC initiative. It's a Commission initiative. It's a European Union initiative in this sense, and it's trying to find the balance and how to make sure that everyone is involved and everyone has a part and a role in this whole process. So that's interesting and something we trying to manage the best as we can.
Thank you, Cornelia. Perhaps just for time, because we don't have too long, we'll take the next 2 questions, and from Isabel and from Bernardo. Bernie. Biliana, is this a question as well from you? Just a thumbs up.
No, it was a like on Cornelia's reply, because I think it was spot on about that challenge.
Indeed, yeah. But also being a trainee, I understand the big ships turn slowly, but they have to turn somehow. So Isabel, please, over to you, and then afterwards I'll take Bernardo's question.
And thank you very much. It's been super nice to have this very comprehensive presentation, to see all in all, like something that we've been hearing here and there, right? And my question is like whether there is any budget allocated to this European Year of Youth. And I guess it's very much related to what Cornelia has just explained, right? Like whether it is something else than just a communication campaign, like a coordination effort of whatever is already going on, and just to make it under a nice and that makes a lot of sense, right? Like a umbrella and like under a concept and so, or that there is any budget allocated. Like, for example, I'm coming from DG Employment, and the initiative that it maybe is more related is ALMA, but ALMA is intended to be funded with the European Social Fund, right? Without any extra budget allocation, which means reallocate the ESF plus budget so that ALMA can happen. So yeah, voila, that's my question. Thanks a lot.
Great. I mean, Isabel, you're right. I mean, and this is the case for the European Year of Youth, and I think it is linked to the short time, because, as you know, I mean, the institutions, you cannot just come up with a budget like that all of a sudden. So it's mostly, we do have a budget, of course, because otherwise almost nothing can happen. So in the decision, what is there? Their provision is for 8 million, which is coming from the Erasmus Plus European Solidarity Corps programs. However, you are right, we have identified, linked to this mapping of Commission initiatives, many of them are accompanied, of course, by budget. So in a way, you saw that ALMA was on the list of EYY initiatives and programs. So we kind of count that this budget that is coming from that program can be marked as European Year of Youth budget, if that makes sense. And we have committed to regular updates to the European Parliament of how what budget is being available for the year and how it is being used. So this will be happening, and there we our colleagues are for each DG there is a colleague who's following with that DG. So if there is a question, we can also link you up with the colleague who's following for DG employment. So that's the sense. So 8 million is like the firm, and then we have other budget identified through other programs. Kitty, do you want to add anything?
No, this is perfect. Super summary.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Bernardo.
Well, thank you very much for giving me this possibility to ask this question. I think my question goes very closely with the last question, in the sense that I am also a member of several youth organizations, and one thing that we struggle is we have the ideas, but we lack the funding to implement said ideas and implement said events and whatnot. So my question here would be really if there's any funding for youth organizations to organize any sort of events relating to the European Year of Youth, and how would that work? Would there be a platform for us to apply for, and basically the sort of the schematics around the whole thing? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you for the question. Yeah, so as said, I mean, the year does not have its own like European Year of Youth dedicated budget line, and there will not be a call where we publish and it's kind of apply for European Year of Youth funding. However, there is budget through other programs and initiatives, which many of them have been reinforced. So including, for instance, the Erasmus Plus. And when people hear Erasmus, you know, they always think, oh, this is for, you know, university students studying abroad. But for instance, in Erasmus Plus, you know, the key action 3, it's youth participation and kind of policy cooperation. So their youth organizations can team up and apply together. So this exact youth participation has been reinforced, and other initiatives. And what we are doing for youth organizations is helping them really make the connection to available funding. We're also thinking, if this is something really in kind of the reflection, how can we make it more prominent on the portal, where for youth organization can see what is the funding available, because sometimes I think there can be different calls that are being launched, and it's just a matter of not having the communication on time, and there's not indeed for some things, for tenders, etc., there is a unique place, but not for everything. And so sometimes it's just a lack of kind of finding that information on time and applying. So this is where we'll support the youth organization in that focus. Yeah, I hope that clarifies.
Let me add here, Bernardo, unfortunately, there's no immediate solution for this. Because even if you apply under Erasmus, you would not have any funding immediately available.
Yeah.
You know how it is, there are cut-off dates, then evaluation, and comes to the contractual side. So all this takes time. What we would still nonetheless encourage you to brand activities that you already had in mind and had in your planning with the European Year of Youth logo. It is to show the strength of youth and the importance of young people during this year. And the more we can spread the logo, the more we can be sort of together as really a youth wave, the better it is then also for future and upcoming activities in the year. We don't want the year to stop on the 31st December 2022. The year's activities, sort of the mindset of the importance of young people should last. It's longer than the year. And we are really thinking that when we now can establish good collaboration, good exchange, and so on, we can drive this, or we can keep youth high on the policy agenda. And this would be also one of the objectives that we have when we work now during the year.
And maybe just one more thing, Kitty, to mention that at national level, you know, I talked about these national coordinators, so they do have some funding available at national level. This is why I said
I cannot tell how they're going to distribute it or how this works.
Of course.
This is really out of our hands.
It is. But especially if you're, you know, on youth organizations that are operating a specific country, that's why I said I think you can always check with your national coordinator. And I know in some cases they might have some, but this is not something that we are yet aware of. But again, it's worth to check as well.
Thank you very much.
I
We are coming.
appreciate,
sorry,
I appreciate very much for all the answers. I would like to know if I can ask yet another distinct question, or if it's
There's
too much of a...
Catherine, I see.
There is Catherine. Why don't we'll take these two as the last question potentially. So Catherine, why don't you go ahead, and then Bernie, you can follow now. So it's Catherine.
Hello. Hi. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My question, well, at first, the question I had was what the biggest issues were, European people, youth people were facing, and with the survey you showed, well, we know we have like a framework of what those topics are. And I have a question about the unemployment rate issue. Is there a way to ensure, or is there any plans to work on improving the stability of those jobs and living wages? Because it directly relates to well, building projects for young people. That was mainly the question. Thank you.
Thank you. And then can we just take Bernie's, just so there's the two questions at once? Bernie, please.
Yeah, my last question is regarding disabilities and so I'm not disabled per se, but I do have a condition that makes my mobility somewhat limited, and it can get somewhat serious sometimes. And I found throughout my last year, mostly, where I've been applying to a lot of European Solidarity Corps and whatnot, that the fact that the existence of my condition, regardless of what has been told by the people behind the organization, is more often than not a very an important how should I put this, is an important condition and an important factor in whether or not I will be accepted. And more often than not, my condition has been a precursor for me getting rejected from several activities. And I would like to know if in the European Year of Youth there would be a bigger attempt to also integrate people like me, because I recognize that I got it pretty easily. Despite all of this, I can move somewhat freely, but I do have some limitations that can affect me every now and then, and it get quite serious. There's people like me that there's people that don't have this choice, and they are very limited. And I would like to know if there's anything that's being reinforced in that sense. And thank you.
Thank you.
Let me start from the practical side. On this activity sheet where I showed you that people can upload activities. For example, we have one field where people should indicate if, for example, people need a particular access with a wheelchair. So this is a small point. And we also have another field where people can indicate if there is sign language available. But definitely it is true, this year is a year of inclusion. And what we really would like to do and to see is that no matter what kind of difficulty a person has, it simply doesn't matter. everyone should have the same rights and choices and opportunities. It is not the right, it is more the opportunity, and there should not be a limitation. So we are working a lot on inclusion initiatives and mechanisms for the Discover EU, also for the Solidarity Corps. I'm sorry to hear that, or to learn that you believe you have been rejected because of your condition. This is definitely not in line with the spirit, though we don't have an influence on the choices an organization takes. We can only sort of raise the awareness in a sort of repetitive and regular way that there should not be an issue when there is a condition. But I believe that sort of the openness of society is really growing in this respect. And I hope that in future you will not have these kind of issues, because they shouldn't be there.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely agree. You should have the exact same chances as anyone else without any kind of, without these conditions. So you should have the equal chances. Last year, we introduced a new framework for inclusion for all of our programs. So I think there is now quite a lot of emphasis on this, and also that we can do more, especially in those cases, to accommodate young people, so that it's not, the fact that they're not applying is not based on, that they have some kind of a difficulty. So we are doing more in terms of like accommodating conditions, and this is something that you can signal in the program. So it's just one thing to mention. I mean, for the European Year of Youth, when we reached out to different stakeholders, we've also included organizations. I'm not sure if it was on the slide that I showed. For instance, the European Disability Forum is one of our stakeholders, and as you know, they represent also a lot of young people with all different range of disabilities. And we thought, and we are happy actually, if you know yourself some other youth organizations that work in that field. Again, we at EU level, we kind of work with ones that are operating across country. If it's particular in Hungary, let's say, only, they should contact the national coordinator, because I think it's important that these organizations which represent young people with disabilities are in the conversation, because they are best positioned to know your needs. Like we don't know your needs, and so you should have those representatives there. And again, if you know others who would like to get involved, or yourself, I didn't hear which organization you represent, happy that you can contact us, and we can share kind of the stakeholder form, and we see how you can get involved. I would like just to cover the other question as well on the biggest challenges. And yes, you're right that in the themes from the survey, these are indeed the areas where young people in the last years, especially, and probably even before, were struggling. So education, and when we're talking about the pandemic, disruption of education, but also other things, challenges of like online education, etc. Employment is a key one, but when it comes to concerns of young people, really the top places, first or second place, it's always the environment and climate change that they're most concerned with. And then the mental health is quite at the top of the list of challenges that young people say that they have. One thing to mention, those, like the order of these things or the gravity of these challenges is different depending on what country, and not even what like city or village you're talking about. So I think the priorities of young people will be very different based on where they're coming from. For instance, I mean, we've heard Greece and Spain are always on the top list of highest unemployment, but when it's for other kind of issues, let's say early leavers of education, for instance, from education, Greece is not at the top of the list, and there will be another country there. So I'm saying that there is a lot of variation. So through education, mental health, environment, employment are top concerns, but what should be the immediate priorities may vary, not only country by country, but even by where these young people are based, or other type of factors, their background, their particular problems, because it's not a homogeneous group of just young people. So we were just talking about young people with disabilities. They may have other kind of like top priorities. So we have to think about these kind of also when we talk about youth data, because this is a big thing for the year. So what data we have on young people and how granular it is, how do we understand it? Not just, you know, to put everyone under the same big bucket. I don't know if that helps, but it also gives you this idea that in this year we would like to see a lot more quality and quantitative data on young people, so that we understand actually better these kind of situations and challenges that they face. Okay, do we have time for other questions? Or if not, I just want to, just before we end, to say that we are happy to receive your questions even in the future if you didn't manage to, you know, voice them here. So maybe we can put in the chat either our contact details, or, you know, you can always just contact me and we forward the information. So happy to continue this conversation in the future as well.
Of course. No, we will share also the European Year of Youth email to people, exactly as Cornelia's done, and the presentation too. And there is one final question that myself and the Institute like to ask people from all these events, which is, what are you hopeful for? And this we can very well target, because of course it's 2022. So what are you hopeful for when it comes to the European Year of Youth, in as sort of short and concise as possible? And I'd love to put this out to both you, Biliana, Cornelia, and Kitty.
I'm hopeful for really a change for young people, something concrete where, you know, 20 years from now, even when I'm telling either my children or grandchildren something about, I can say, you know, this year, this is what we did, and then this is what happened. I would like to have this kind of narrative so that we can really know how concretely we make a difference. So I hope we get a concrete result.
Thank you. Over to you, Kitty.
Yeah, I mean, this is a fantastic hope, yeah. I put it closer. I would really hope that we get over this pandemic, and that we can use everything that seemed to be negative, like the digitalization, becomes a positive driver for learning and for upskilling and whatever it is, but that we can really freely move again, travel, meet, go out. I mean, this would be my wish for 2022. I think we're all a bit fed up with being at home.
Definitely. Connie?
Yeah, my hope, I think, would be that young people throughout this year kind of find their place in life, I would say. I think the past 2 years really kind of, for me, it was kind of, you know, transforming in a way, but also was really something where I was like trying to think about, okay, how I go from there, how it kind of disrupted my way of thinking for my future. And I just really hope that, you know, everyone in Europe kind of, or most people, or many people, young people in Europe kind of get a chance to think about where they're going and get a help through the European Year of Youth to kind of have a path to follow and find their way in this post-pandemic framework, to go forward with their lives in a happy and forward-looking way.
Amazing. Well, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you to our participants. Indeed, we've got lots of sort of thanks in the chat as well. Myself and the Institute will definitely also remain engaged, so this won't be our only event. Hopefully we will be in person. We are in Brussels as well, so we'd love to see all of our participants and DJAC in person, and we're certain that this will be the start of a great year of youth led by wonderful people. And just thanks again, and wishing everyone the best.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Good evening.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.